sneaky as far as tire compounds in qualifying are concerned. I think it's going to be relatively straightforward. We may see something a little bit different. I'm on board with Olli Pakala, who is Oslo is his Steam name, so that's how he's going to show up. But he's in the Ferrari, heading down that very long straight into the hairpin. So it looks like he and the McLaren that was ahead of him, they are going to be looking to start their laps pretty soon here, and we'll immediately start seeing the times come in. Of course, there is a bit of track evolution, so we will see those times start to tumble as the session progresses. And there we go. The Ferrari crosses the line and starts the opening lap of this qualifying.
And he does it. So he's just going through round that long turn one then. Seems never ending as he comes into turn 2 then. Switches round for 3. Slows it down, kicks the turn out slightly as he comes around then for that quick. He's gone through 4. That's non-existent number 5. Heading down to the heavy brake in zone 6. Locks up slightly with that front left tyre. But that was also because he was a little bit off the circuit then on the rumble strip. Then through 7. He's got a big old queue of cars behind him. I say queue of cars a little bit behind him, but a number of people out at the same time. Then he's gone through 8. Now 9. Turning down towards 10. Ooh, the tail getting a little bit slippery there. But keeps it under control here on the short straight, heading down to 11 as he hits the second timing line. Now through 11 and 12, long through turn 13, then onto the very long back straight, the signature straight of the Shanghai International Circuit. Then that's where the top speeds will be hit, and DRS is of course open. It always feels like a very long way down the circuit, but it is of course where it should be. Then hits the brakes for turn 15, turn 14, then the non-existent 15 was that apex on the right. First lap on the board is by Klavotsky, so here is Oslo then. Does he take the lead? Across the line.
Yes, he does. Yeah, 132.7 from Olli Pakala, and that is going to be quickest, although I'm sure we'll be seeing. Yeah, there we go. Graham
there he is, yeah.
With a 132.7. Those Graham, very quick. If I remember, actually quickest in the time trial event. Jem Bullock-Bossi, though, improves even further, dipping down below 132.6. Another familiar name, of course, among AOR and sim racing in general. And we're going to just kind of switch around the field a little bit. Let's take a quick look at Fizzy. He is in a lovely purple and pink helmet that matches just wonderfully with that Force India. And I have to say, fantastic color coordination from our beloved overlord here at Apex Online Racing. For people that don't know, Fizzy is the head boss in charge, no doubt about it. And it looks like this is his first timed lap, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you can correct. Yeah, it says lap 2 with lap 1, of course, being the out lap. But he's got some pretty stiff competition to go up against today.
That he certainly does. I mean, that's so he's in the Pink Panther. I can't unfortunately see the. I can't get the qualifying time, sadly. There's one disadvantage from last time. See, my overlay says that Fizzy's just taken the lead, which of course he can't do because he's not crossed the line yet. So my game's having a little bit of difficulty trying to tell me who the leader is. It currently tells me it is Fizzy, bearing in mind that updated when he was halfway down the back straight. Ycoms has just set the fastest out with a 132.4. And it's just beaten again, 132.2. Wow. Graham didn't hang about as Fizzy's crossed the line. He's now 11th, but that's less than a second separating the top 12, it would seem. So we've got a pretty tight field here today, it seems. This is going to lead to some great racing there.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Of course, once you throw into the mix, that people will be having different stops, they'll be having to overtake each other. Of course, China, not the most difficult circuit to overtake at. You do have that very long straight. It is coming off of a very high-speed right-hander that gets faster and faster as it goes, an increasing radius right-hander. As I'm just on board with Marco as he gets turn 11 a bit wrong there, which is certainly going to cause him to struggle on his way through turns 12 and 13 and onto the aforementioned long straight. But yeah, I'm expecting plenty of overtaking opportunities, 2 DRS zones, of course, and an extremely long straight. So we should be seeing plenty of side-by-side action, I would imagine.
Now, Marco is worth mentioning that Marco is actually racing without driver line. as the rules do dictate, and it's the first time of doing so, so he is a little bit off the pace from what he's used to doing. He did ask that I mention that. But he currently is... but to be fair, he's only 1.3 off the pole time, which in normal F1 terms is a lot, but if you're playing with a setting, or without a setting you're used to doing, such as the driver line, it can make quite a big difference. So Marco has come into the bits. Let's see who else is still on track. Michael X99 in the Ferrari.
Yep, that's who I'm on.
Yep. The Romanian, we had to look up what flag that was before we started. We were both staring at it like, I know what that flag is! So he's now coming down the back straight. He's currently in 14th. But again, still under a second. So a second is pretty much separating the entire field. So now, big heavy braking zone into 14. That's where we're going to see probably a fair significant proportion of the overtakes going on. And he's in.
Turn 6. The turn 6 hairpin as well, I think, is going to be a place where, I mean, we've seen Daniel Ricciardo in the real F1 with some fantastic overtakes. It's always a good, because it's turn 3 and 4, they're such slow corners that you can really set yourself up with some, you can put it into rich mix and try and get that side-by-side moment into turn 6. So yeah, definitely several overtaking locations. And for the really brave guys, we may even see some overtakes into turn 1.
Yeah. Again, I remember seeing in season 12 a wonderful battle with Fizzy and a driver that isn't in this particular setup, Mini Black, through basically turns 1 through to 6. That you were with me in that one. We were both pretty much screaming at that.
Yep. I remember that.
That was an incredible battle. I actually had that in my intro sequence. I was reminded of it every single week. So Ramjob in the other Pink Panther has come out on track again, remaining with those super soft tyres. Kalon, who I have commented on before in the Renault, is crawling along very slowly. I think he's run out of fuel.
Oh. That would be unfortunate if that was the case. He is coming up to the...
he's coming up to the pit lane entrance
now. So he does still have enough time. There's 3 minutes left in the session. I'd say that's enough to bolt on a new set of tires and do a quick out lap and get another lap in. So certainly not the end of his qualifying just yet, but he is going to need to hurry pretty quickly in the garage as the Ferrari coming out. I'm not sure if that is Ollie Pakala or somebody else, but we can try and say, I guess it's not Ollie because I'm not seeing him available to switch to. But yeah, he's still got some time, just under 3 minutes remaining in the session. Lycoms,
Fizzy's partner in crime in the other McLaren, is just come back out on track. Again, everyone's still running the super soft tyres. Now, another possible reason for that is if the weather forecast for the race is wet. So they could just be burning up the super soft tyres if they're not going to run them in the race. Of course, the drivers will have that. They will have the weather forecast. We don't as the spectators. And
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, there's no way for us to see that, unfortunately. Not that I've found, at least. So we've also got Graham, C33. He's currently in 5th position. Coming around that long turn 13. And flying down that back straight then. I've got to say, I love how the graphics look in F1 2017. Absolutely stunning. It didn't look bad in F1 2016, to be fair. But yeah, absolutely great job here as Graham hits the brakes into turn 14 then. And where is he going to be? He's currently in 8th. He's just actually been demoted from 5th to 8th whilst on his lap then. So does he improve from that one? No, he's just started his time lap, I think. Because that's come up. He was 1 minute 23 down. I don't think he was that bad. So yeah, so he's now started.
That's Ollie Pakala.
Indeed, it was also. I actually missed what that was. 132. What was it? I missed what it was.
Yeah, I missed the decimal. It pops up very quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah, now into P1.
So in 5th position at the moment is Tom 97 HD in the Sauber. And Sauber? No, he's not. He's in the Toro Rosso. Beg your pardon. So. I knew I'd get that wrong at least once in the broadcast. Marco FD is still out there. Marco's actually in 4th according to my overlay. That's a stunning improvement.
He was pretty low down in the time trial event, the qualifying for this, to find out who would race in this. For those that weren't aware, there was a time trial event where you had to set lap times at, I believe, 3 circuits, and Marco FD barely squeezing in, if I remember correctly. But we know personally, you and I know how quick he can be. So certainly, I would not discount him.
Yeah, I think my overlay was having a bit of a wonky moment there because it's just updated that he's actually in 17th position. Oh, and he's flown off the road. He set his lap and pretty much threw it to, I think it was was that not where Lewis Hamilton's engine blew up?
I think that was Malaysia.
That was Malaysia, wasn't it? Yes. Beg your pardon. Yeah, you're always very good at remembering these things, far better than me. So yeah, Marco has decided to retire from the session then, and again, 1:32 flat. That was the pole time we saw yesterday, and Graham has just set that, actually, in on his flying lap as well, as I've just jumped to Westy in the Toro Rosso, just coming on that final turn. Can he... And the checkered flag is out, so... The remaining time is for anyone that's already on their hot lap. They now have until that time runs out to complete it. And Nick Mido is still out there in the Red Bull. Quite a lot of people out on course. Ramdrop is going very, very slowly. He's just let someone through, I think. So that's the end of his day. He starts the race in 13th position. So if it's not a wet race, he will have free choice tyres from there. He's decided to carry on anyway. Why not? A bit more practice. Who is still out there? Failer is still out there in the other McLaren. He's just heading down that back straight. He is currently in the 4th position. He's just opened his DRS. So let's see where he will re-emerge. Oh, that's my overlay having a bad day again. So not certain what position Failer is in. Whoa! As he kicks the tail out on that turn 14. We saw a lot of that actually last season as well, just getting the power on that slight bit too early, and again he's overcooked that turn 16, and that's going to lose him a whole bucket load of time as he comes across the line, and he's 12th. He will be starting from 12th position, and there we go, and that is the end of qualifying. So Justin, do you want to run through the order?
Yeah, so Graham Carroll takes pole position by just under a 1/10.5 of a second ahead of Jem Bullock-Bossi, actually putting his Haas on the front row of the grid. 3rd position, RBK in the other Haas, actually, so 2 Haas's in the top 3. Then the Ferrari of Ali Pakala, then Cam in the Williams in 5th position, Wycom's in 6th position for McLaren, Michael X99 Klawutsky, Raiko Gordon, who is RS Falcon if you guys are AOR watchers, and then Max AFC 46 in the Sauber, completing the top 10. In 11th position was Ram in the Force India. I took a picture of it because I knew it was going to go away quickly. Failer 3 in the McLaren in 12th position, and Tom 97 HD in the Toro Rosso grabbing 13th position. I didn't get the rest of the results, but that is your top 13 for this PC split, and definitely excited about this one. It looks like the race is getting ready to get underway. I don't know if we'll have a formation lap or not on this one.
No, we will not be having a formation lap. We are jumping straight into the action. So after the race start counter has come down, we will be jumping straight into what this race has to offer. Just want to give a big shout out to Codemasters for setting up this eSports tournament and allowing us at Apex Online Racing to be holding these qualifying matches. We had the first Xbox race yesterday. We will have the PS4 race tomorrow. And then next week we go over to Abu Dhabi for round 2 then. But here we are then. 5 lights. Wind them up. And let that... Oh, we have a false start. The Sauber actually jumped the start there. That's not going to do them any favours. And oh my goodness me, one of the Haas being squeezed out. I'm trying to figure out who that is.
That's Jem Bullock-Bossi, I believe, who takes the lead of the race into turn 1.
Oh, very nicely done. Just cycling through the names, see if I can catch up with the leaders. And oh dear, Fizzy's had a terrible start. He's actually at the back, but it is indeed Jem Bullock-Bossi in the Haas that has taken the lead from Grand CP33. Oslo is now in 3rd in the Ferrari. RBK holding on to 4th position in the Haas. Cam in the Williams, 5th position. Klawutsky in the Sauber is in 6th position under all sorts of pressure from Wycombs in the McLaren. Michael X99 is in 8th position in the Ferrari. We have Max AFC, he's gone up to 9th in the other Sauber, and Ramdrop. Now interesting, Ramdrop is on the soft tyres. He's gone for the harder compo. He's just lost a position to Raiko Gordon as they all now come streaming down the short straight heading towards turn 12. Everyone seems to be going... Oh, no, is there a problem there with the Sauber? With the Toro Rosso, beg your pardon. I just see who that is that seems to be running slowly.
Yeah, moving off the racing line. I'm not sure who that was, but yeah, your eyes do not deceive you. That was definitely okay. Yeah, the Toro Rosso of Westy apparently struggling a little bit on this opening lap. It is still very close. No major gaps. Really, that is the biggest gap at the back with that Toro Rosso. Still very close. Everybody picking up that slipstream, of course, except for Jem Bullock-Bossi, who has taken the lead of this 28-lap race at the start as the McLaren and the Sauber going side by side into the hairpin And it looks like the McLaren now battling actually with the Ferrari at after the exit of
trouble!
I believe that was. Oh!
It was RBK. I saw actually him skew off the track after turn 16. I think it may have been contact that sent him into the wall. And we have had our first casualty of the race.
Yep, and a bit of a gap now starting to form between 4th and 5th. I'm on board with Cam in the Williams at the moment, and a big gap down to, I believe that's Ycoms that's below him in the McLaren. Yes, it is Ycoms that's running just below him. So yeah, that gap beginning to form between 4th and 5th position as the top guys start to break away from the rest of the field. A bit of an oversteer moment, it looked like, at the exit of that corner for Ycoms. Of course, he is another kind of legend of AOR. Most people will know who Ycoms is if you're a regular watcher of the AOR Xbox highlights. And he's got a lot of company behind him. He's got a Ferrari, a Sauber, a Red Bull, all hounding him, and a big gap starting to form. I don't think he's going to be picking up DRS next lap.
It was Klavotsky that jumped the start. He's had to serve as drive-through penalty as a result. That was a bit of a shame. But yeah, that's put him right at the back of the field. Yeah, that is a big old chain of cars forming behind Ycoms, but plenty of time to go. Plenty of time, and that is RBK jumping out of the session. So, Jem Bullock-Bussey, thank you. I've been trying to get that name right. I knew I'd stumble on it. Leads by not even half a second over Graham CT33, who has hung on to him pretty well and is beginning to open up a bit of a gap between himself and Oslo. And Jem Bullock-Bussey gets the fastest at 1:36.1. Very nicely done. But there is a definite gap forming between second and third. Fourth is Cam in the Williams. He is trying his best to hang on to that Ferrari, but again he's losing a little bit of time. Ycoms in 5th position, very, very wide at turn 1, but just about hangs on to it and keeps that position from Michael X99, who's moved up to 6th position in the Ferrari. That Sauber is Max AFC 46, who has, from his starting position, moved up to 7th. Ramdrop in the Pink Panther is in 8th position then, with Riker Gordon all over the back of him. Following him is Kalon in the Renault in 10th position. He was in a Ferrari in the last F1 season. Johnny John, we haven't mentioned yet this race, he's running the soft tyres. Actually, both of the Renaults are running the soft tyres, so they've gone for the harder compound. They're in 10th and 11th at the moment. Tom 97HD is in 12th in the Toro Rosso. 13th is Failer in the McLaren, also running soft tyres. Nick Mido in the Red Bull. A lot of soft runners at the back. Oops, he gets a bit of a snap oversteer at turn 10. Marco is down there in the Mercedes. He's staying with the pack, to be fair, so we'll give him credit for that. There's Fizzy in the other Pink Panther. He currently running 16. Westy, we saw as the Sauber, Toro Rosso rather, that was having to get off the racing line. He looked very slow, but he's staying with that pack. And Klavotsky then, with those super soft tyres on, having to really close that. I mean, that has really hurt his race. If he's on the softer compound and got a drive-through penalty, that's a long day ahead of him as we come to the end of lap 3.
I'm not seeing Westy use his DRS, actually. I was flipping through the drivers as you were listing off their positions, and I didn't see DRS activation from Westy. I was seeing it from other drivers, but not from Westy there. So I don't know if that's a problem physically, like with the car, or if he just forgot, or if he couldn't find the button for it. I know in the heat of the moment, all your knowledge and experience kind of flies out the window. But not so much for Jem Bullock-Bussey and Graham Carroll, who appear to be in pretty healthy command of this race.
Now, interestingly, the fuel light on the overlay for me, and the same for you, Justin, is yellow for Jem and for. I wonder if that is that simply indicating that they're running. Oh, did Jem get very sideways? He looked like you're very sideways and through turn 7. Again, just could be how the camera angle looked. It looked like he was really getting a big snap of oversteer now. And it does look like he was, because that is now the Mercedes trying to decide whether he's going to take a move or not. But yeah, I think the Haas really did lose momentum then, coming through turn 9.
Yep, Graham Carroll all over the back of Jem Bullock-Bussey as they head through that very long right-hander. He's going to pick up the slipstream here. DRS activation line is coming up, activating now. He's going to have the benefit of the DRS and the slipstream, of course, approaching 200 miles an hour already as they get into the braking zone just before the 100-meter board, and not able to pull alongside, not able to really apply any sort of pressure to Jem. Surprisingly enough, he seemed so close, and that of course could be down to a differing setup Certainly it is possible that Graham running a higher downforce setup, which would make him stronger kind of in the middle sector where that downforce is so crucial, and Jem potentially running a lower downforce setup, which could make him much, much stronger on that very long straight in Sector 3, which, as we know, is a very important part of this circuit. And he could have trouble passing Jem if that is the case. We can only hypothesize. Of course, these drivers not all that keen on sharing their setups before the race, so certainly
I can't possibly think for why. But interestingly, no one's running DRS. It looks like no one is able to open their DRS, which is a rather strange one. Because I mean, on the back of what you were saying earlier, Justin, I was watching Graham along the start-finish straight, and he didn't open DRS. I don't think he did on the back straight either. Again, I'm watching Oslo at the moment. Obviously, they're not in a DRS zone at the moment, but he is within DRS range of the Mercedes ahead of him. As it goes, it looked like they went a little bit wide on the exit of turn 10. So it could just be how it appears to us, though. It could be a problem with the spectator camera, which is, of course, entirely possible. But it would explain why the Mercedes is not able to draw alongside the Haas at the moment.
Yeah, I'm actually on board with Olli Pakala as he gets into the DRS activation zone. Yeah, and I'm not seeing anything with the wing, so that might be just a display thing on our side. Yeah, we'll just have to assume on that one. But certainly the Mercedes and the Ferrari very close now. It looked like a gap is starting to form between Graham Carroll and Olli Pakala. It's incredible using these sim racer names for an F1 2017 event. I mean, these are guys that we're used to seeing in iRacing and other types of things. Oh, and has Jem pit?
He must have done, because he's vanished.
Yeah, he pits at the end of lap 5, which surely means that he's on for a two-stop strategy, I would imagine.
I would think so. I mean, unless he's going for another set of super softs as well, so that forces him into it. No, they changed at the last second. They actually changed from my screen onto softs. Surely the softs can't go that long. That's a very long time. 22 laps.
Yeah.
That surely isn't possible. No, so he's going in super soft. I would imagine that puts him, of course, at the tail end of the field, directly behind Klivutsky, and we'll see how he's able to recover from there. So Graham then now with the lead of the race, but he has got Oslo pretty close. 0.8 of a second separates the top two, but there is a gap. There's a nearly 2-second gap between second and third now. Cam has obviously inherited that third position spot in the Williams. Wycon's in fourth, and now that gap, the pack rather behind him, has completely split up, it seems. Because he only has now Michael. Michael S99 goes very, very deep into that turn 11, and the next car down the road is actually Ramdrop. So that pack has split up now. I wouldn't be at all surprised if a lot of people are getting rid of those super softs, because China having a number of high-speed corners is a bit of a tyre muncher. But I've also been told that the tyres are lasting longer than some drivers are expecting. Mind you, looking further through the field, the train of cars is actually behind Max. And interesting, Raikko does have his DRS open. So I think we're seeing a bit of maybe a problem with how things are looking for the spectators. I feel a little bit awkward saying things like that, knowing that there's big wigs from Codemasters joining us. Welcome to you. However, I can only report on what we see.
And Raikko Gordon into the pits, actually, at the end of lap 6. So with 22 laps remaining in this race, and it does look like he's going to be fitting a set of the soft compound tires.
Mediums.
They switched over to mediums. Yep, they're medium compound tires. He could potentially be going for a one-stop.
Yeah, that I could imagine that. Did the same thing happen to you, where they changed colour whilst they were being fitted?
Yes.
Yeah, you had the same. You had the same as me. Yeah, that's fine. As long as it isn't just me.
We do have older eyes than possibly other people that are watching this stream, as we are both over the age of 30, which essentially makes us ancient in F1 terms.
Yeah, well, in general eSports terms as well. Oslo is losing the back of Graham now, so Graham's really beginning to get the hammer down to. That's now 1.2 seconds separating the top two. Still plenty of time for that particular gap to change, but the front runners are still running their starting tyres. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if the Mercedes and the Ferrari are due in soon.
Yeah, and Jem, of course, pitting at the end of lap 5, so he's now had 2 laps worth of undercut on these guys. So if they are going for a two-stop strategy, then I definitely worry for them, because Jem, I presume, is going to be putting in extremely quick laps. In fact, while I watch this battle between the top two, if you could maybe check to see if Jem is in any sort of traffic at the moment, because, of course, that would certainly hurt his two-stop strategy. As we come out of the final corner to start lap number 8 now, on board with the Ferrari of Olli Pakala. That gap to the car ahead, the Mercedes pulling away. It's now 1.4 seconds just about between the Mercedes and the Ferrari. And I guess we shouldn't be too surprised to be seeing a Mercedes and a Ferrari battling for the win here. That is something I think we're all pretty familiar with here in 2017. And there's confirmation. Jem passed the lap. Puts in a 135.9 on high fuel as well. I think that's probably faster than I could do in qualifying trim.
Now, when I'd actually jumped at him, he'd blasted past Klavutsky already. He was actually on that start on the back straight. He's now catching a massive chain. He's in 16th at the moment, but he catches a chain with Marco FD in the Mercedes, Westy in the Toro Rosso, that's Failer in the McLaren. Fizzy is in there as well, so that is a pretty big chain of cars that Jem is catching up to. But he's got his first stop out of the way. We'll see how that pans out for him. But he's clearly, and he actually very nearly did a Giovinazzi at turn 16. the tail just completely kicked out, and that could have gone very nasty. But he held onto it very well. Again, that could be just how it appeared on the spectator cam. The angles can look a little bit exaggerated sometimes from a spectator's perspective. Again, not meaning that as in the game is reporting it wrong, just how it appears to spectators' eyes more than it actually is in for the driver. So
yeah, I'm on board with Jem right now, and I'm noticing that all the drivers ahead of him do have the soft compound tires. So I mean, they could be going as deep as lap 12 or 13 or so. So I think Jem's going to have to make these overtakes on circuit.
I think so, yeah, but I think he's rather proof that he's got the pace to do it. And there's one of the Renaults has just come in, I noticed, and that is actually Jem within DRS range already. Interestingly, again, the DRS isn't open, so it's a bit of an unusual one. I think
it is for the car in front of him, though, the Mercedes, which would be Johnny John, I believe.
I think it was Marco a minute ago.
Was it?
Yeah, it's Marco, okay, yeah, it's Marco. Yep. Johnny John is probably... yeah, Johnny Johnson was the Renault that I spotted coming into the pits. That's why when you cycle through the names, you picked him up. He comes out on soft tyres. I think that's actually the second set of softs that he's gone on, so that's a 2-stop for him as well. But again, I wouldn't expect the soft tyres to go as long as that to the end of the race anyway. So he comes out. He's in 19th position. Let's see, where are we with our leaders? If I can find them.
Oh, and Jem really piling the pressure onto Marco FD, just, I mean, all up in the back of that Mercedes, just pushing him through the double left-hander in Sector 2 there as they race side by side into this left-hander to finish Sector 2, start Sector 3, and he's already got the move done. He's already up ahead. Of course, his tires are going to be quite a bit fresher than Marco's tires, so he made that look pretty easy. Let's switch back over to him as he is now piling on the pressure on Westy, who we saw struggling earlier in the race. He's going to get that DRS activation pretty soon here, but I believe Westy as well is going to be picking up the DRS off of that McLaren ahead of him. So, yeah, it doesn't look like Jem's going to be able to get alongside. Oh, he's so much later on the brakes, though, into that hairpin.
Did you wince when that brake move happened? I certainly did.
That was a moment.
Yeah. Interestingly, look who's 2 cars back. It's the former race leader, Graham. So that's worked out quite well pit strategy-wise for Jem then, as they've overtaken another few people in the pits. They're now up to 9th then. Jem diving on the inside at turn 1 to take what is now 8th position, and he's now gunning after the McLaren of Failer.
Yeah, and Ollie Packle has been into the pits as well. He's now down into 12th, and crucially behind Graham Carroll and Jem Bolakbasi as well. So certainly it looks as if things are as they were on lap 5 when Jem came into those pits. So of course that's your relative top 3. I'm not sure who is the actual top 3.
It's Wycombe's actually leads in the McLaren on the super soft tyres. Cam in the Williams in second is right with him, and Ramdrop in the Pink Panther is not too far behind in 3rd position. That is the actual 3rd. Oh, was just watching Cam then really locks up his brakes into that turn 11. Very nearly slams into the back of the McLaren, but that is your top 3 at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to go actually on board with Cam here as we see Wycombe's moving to the far right-hand side, really trying to break that slipstream effect that the Williams would be trying to pick up here. He's pretty far back, a number of car lengths back on that McLaren, so I'm not sure how much of a slipstream he was picking up off of Wycombe's anyways. We come to the end of lap 10 now. We could see, and there he goes into the pits, and actually
all 3 of them
is going to follow him.
Oh, goodness me!
Wycombe's pit entrance. Oh, they're side by side in the pit entrance. The Williams actually pulls ahead incredibly. makes the overtake in the pit lane.
We were talking about gutsy moves earlier. That's opportunistic in the extreme. Wow, Cam overtaking Wycombs in the pit lane. I mean, Wycombs did almost do a Hamilton and slam it into the pit wall as Oslo sets the new fastest at 1:35.1. The All News race leader then is Kalon in the Renault with Tom 97HD right with him in the Toro Rosso. And Fizzy is up to third position. All three of the top runners on those soft tyres. And a bit of a gap between Fizzy and the leader, although Fizzy locks up quite heavily into turn 6. And so on he goes then. And again, there's a big old chain of cars behind Fizzy. And it's Jem that's made his way up to fourth then. So Jem is on an absolute flyer.
Yeah, he's got Failer in the McLaren just behind him. I don't know if he's been into the pits yet. He's still on soft, so I presume he's still out.
I will see if I can find out for you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. It's always great having two people do this.
Absolutely.
Distribute the duties, and that's certainly beneficial.
The top 9, although interestingly, this overlay tells me that Jem hasn't been to the pits, although we know he has.
Yeah.
It's actually saying the top 9 haven't been in the pits, which is probably true except for Jem.
Yep. I would say that's probably fair. Yeah, because Jem, of course, was the first to pit, and he came out ahead of Ali Pakala and Graham Carroll, so I would be very surprised if somebody else had pitted and is ahead of Jem Bolakossi. That would be a truly incredible feat.
That would be the quickest pit stop of the world, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So then Jem is now going to be placing that pressure onto Fizzy then, and as they come down the start-finish straight, Westy in the Toro Rosso has got Graham C33 for company. We've seen how quick Graham can be. Oh, and Graham's trying an inside move on Westy. Then he's bullied Westy off the racing line. Now going on the outside of turn 2, and he's got it done. Oh, beautifully done. Lovely amount of racing room between the pair of them. And that is 6th position then now to the Mercedes.
Yep, he's got Failer just ahead in the McLaren, and I imagine he is going to be quite a bit quicker. Of course, Graham Carroll, one of the fastest guys in this series. Again, extremely close in qualifying, less than a second separating the vast majority, if not all of the drivers in qualifying. So there are not massive differences between any of these guys, but certainly Graham Carroll is one of the people to watch. As it looks like Jem Bolakossi has flown up to the back of Fizzy Fan, actually. It looks like he's going to be hounding him at the same time while Graham is hounding Failer. It looks like Ali Pakala in the background as well, looking to make the overtake on the Toro Rosso. He's got that done. I'm not sure if he would have picked up DRS there, but we've got a couple of battles going on in the midfield at the moment. These are the guys that have pitted that are on fresher tires, and they've got that significant speed advantage. We're going to. I'm having a look at Graham Carroll right now in P6. Is he going to try and move up the inside at the hairpin on the McLaren? No, it looks like he's a little too far back.
Fizzy still under immense pressure from Jem, and we have someone in the pits. I think it was Kalon in the Renault. Yes, it is. Kalon comes in then to ditch those rather second-hand soft tyres. Then I will follow him through, see what he gets on board his car.
Jem on Fizzy now into turn 1 side by side. Jem with the inside line. If you want to pick up on that, it looks like he's actually pretty much got the job done already. Beautiful move, inside line into turns 1 and 2, and he's up ahead of Fizzy.
Graham Carroll did exactly the same thing on Failer right behind them. So in tandem, they're overtaking. And Failer is already under pressure by Oslo. Then we've got a 3-car battle. Then diving on the inside is this super soft shot Ferrari. Wow! That was exactly as you said. Turn 6 is where that move happened. Very nicely done by the Ferrari, and he's going to be trying to get off after that Mercedes, but Graham has other ideas. He has got Fizzy in his sights, but Fizzy, I think, has burnt the best out of those tyres, so Fizzy may not prove to be too tricky for the Mercedes. Oh, what a great amount of speed that Graham had off of that turn 10 rather. Oh, goodness me, Fizzy had a bad run coming through that turn 12, turn 13 pairing. He's gone really to the outside, and it looks like Graham is going to nail Fizzy on that song for this straight. Although saying that, Fizzy had a good exit.
Ollie got a great exit, better than the other two, actually. It's going to be side by side between Ollie and Graham into the hairpin. Fizzy's just ahead of them as well, so they got to keep an eye on that Force India. The Mercedes is going to try a switchback maneuver. It's not quite worked out for him. The Super Softs on that Ferrari clearly working better in the traction zone out of that low-speed corner, moves up into P4 and can now turn his attention towards Fizzy, who shockingly has not come into the pits yet.
No, he is stretching that stint out a long way. I think a number of drivers were looking to do the one-stop. And interestingly, on my overlay, Graham Carroll's pit light is on. I'd be surprised if it was on so soon. Unless
that could be. I'm not sure why he would be doing that actually. And certainly there's no race engineers or anything like that to try and fool. Oh, as Ollie Pakula makes a nice easy move at turn 6 up the inside on Fizzy. Surely with those fresh Super Softs, he'll have no problem going around the outside at turn 7, and he does indeed. Moves himself up into now P2. Now Jem Bullock-Bossi, the only thing between him and victory, and that's a pretty decent-sized gap, though, so I imagine Jem has got to be feeling pretty good here.
Absolutely. Oh, big oversteer moment for Fizzy then on the exit of that turn 10. Those tyres are absolutely mullered. Surely he's going to be coming in soon, if not this time around. And as they come around that turn 13, he is still holding the Mercedes off, but that must be so frustrating for Graham. You could see just how much extra pace the Mercedes has, and he's just not able to get past Fizzy in that Force India. Fizzy's got DRS open, as does, I would assume, the Mercedes. And again, into that turn 14, and they still are in those same positions. That is bringing failure back into that particular battle. Does Fizzy come in this time? No. He is choosing to continue. Whoa. Okay.
So I presume at this point that Fizzy is going to go long in this stint. He's actually going to fit a set of the Super Softs at the end of this race for his second and final stint. Graham Carroll, trying to sneak up the inside. Looks like he's just about going to edge him out again through the very long double right-hander to open up the lap. Of course, Fizzy is struggling on those extremely worn soft tires. So Graham now up into P3. So there we go. The top 3 are as they were 10 laps ago, prior to Jem Bullock-Bossi coming into the pit lane for that set of softs that he's currently on. Of course, Graham at a bit of a disadvantage when compared to Ollie Pakula up ahead, because Ollie running those Super Softs. But as this race goes on, those Super Softs are going to begin to fall off, and these softs are going to become the quicker tire. So this is probably going to go. I mean, we know for sure that Ollie is two-stopping because he's put on 2 sets of super soft tires. We don't know if Graham's going to. I mean, he put on that pit light, so you would assume he's stopping again. Jem stopped on lap 5, so you would assume he's stopping again. So I think it's safe to assume that the top 3 are all going to be running a 2-stop strategy, but we may see that change.
We may do, especially if the weather changes. Again, that's the one unknown.
Yes.
As we saw the weather change in yesterday's Xbox race, it was very mixed conditions, and people were running intermediates and then switching back to soft and super soft. So that well could throw a cat amongst the pigeons, if I can say the sentence properly. But Oslo is really beginning to reel in the house of Jem ahead of him. There's now 1.5 between the two. He's taken, I think, 4 tenths, and there's another 2 tenths. He's taken 6 tenths out of that lead already. But yeah, exactly as you say, those super softs are going to burn pretty quickly, particularly here. So it really does depend on how well Oslo can keep those tyres fresh, and of course how well his setup allows him to keep the tyres. He's not sliding around too much at the moment, so yeah, you never know. He could, and there is also the possibility of punctures, let's not forget. So there's still plenty of racing left to do. There's still plenty of upsets we could still have.
Yeah, just barely at halfway distance in this race. Still more than 12 laps remaining, 12 laps after this lap is completed. I'm on board at the moment with the Ferrari of Michael X99, and he's got the Force India just ahead of him, I believe. Yeah, it's Ram Drop just ahead of him, and then the Williams of Cam just ahead of him. So this is essentially the battle for P7. They're spaced out a decent amount, but I certainly could see this progressing into a battle later on. Ram also on the medium compound tires, same as Michael. Let's see what Cam is running. Yeah, he's on the medium tires as well. So we're seeing a bit more of a conservative sort of style from these guys sort of in the midfield. I guess they're just a little hesitant to give up their very well-earned position at this point. You know, they don't want to be throwing away any sort of points. Meanwhile, the guys at the front, you know, they're going for gold. They have one goal, and that is to win this race. And Jem Bullock-Bossie into the pits at the end of lap 16, second pit stop for the Haas driver, and we'll keep an eye on this. Actually, we'll stick with him and see what kind of tires he's going to be going on to here as he makes his way. We can see the Haas team coming out. I'm not going to call the tire compound until we actually see them on the car themselves. But Jem into the pits in that Haas, in that red, white, and blue helmet as well. I appreciate that, going for the U.S. colors in the U.S. team. And
Fizzy came out as well.
Don't deceive me. Is that a set of soft compound tires? Yes, it is. He's going to feed out into 13th position, just behind a Renault who is battling a Toro Rosso. That is Kalon and Tom 97 HD, currently locked in a battle for P11, and then a decent-sized gap ahead of Tom. So Jem's got to clear those two cars as quickly as he can.
Fizzy came in at the same time, and he's actually come out in 15th position on super soft tires. So, again, this is what I was alluding to before the race began. So many different pit strategies going on, tyre strategies going on here. Most people seem to be going for the one stop, but we've seen a few two stops going on. Vast majority going for one, but we're seeing all of the dry compound tyres being used, and that's so rare. See, there's a little whoa, and there's a big lag moment there for Ryko Gordon. That actually sent him all over the place for a moment there. I thought he was going to skew into the wall. And all of this going on right ahead of Jem, who's just sizing and just slipped through on the inside of Kalon to take that 12th position at turn 13. Very nicely done. And now sets off for the Toro Rosso ahead of him.
Yeah, this might be an overtaking opportunity for Jem right now. Tom 97 going defensive, holding that inside line into the hairpin, and Jem just following up. Oh gosh, the Renault comes back at him though. I was on an onboard camera, nearly missed that Renault attacking him around the outside. Great stuff there from Kalon, fighting back against the effective race leader. I don't know if Ollie or Graham Carroll have been into the pits. But certainly I would imagine they're looking to...
Ollie,
yeah, and there is Ollie.
Yeah,
he's
just
going to
come
come out just behind. He has definitely gained time
on
on Jem as a result of all that battling. Jem's going to need to get by Tom quickly.
Yeah, he literally split the battle that Kalon was having with Jem. He's absolutely divided. Now that could play into Oslo's hands. He's going to have his tyres out a little bit fresher. Not by a lot, but it could be by enough to really pressure for that race lead as Jem gets side by side. Oh, with the Toro Rosso, with Tom. No, Tom holds on to that position then. That is for P10. But that is not done by any description. Oslo's got a great ringside seat for this. He's waiting for an impact to happen.
Yep, I'm going to go on board with him, actually, because he has a fantastic view of this battle for P10, but essentially, really, this is for the lead of this race. No idea if Tom's going to be stopping again. Oh, Jem really getting slowed down by going side by side with Tom through that corner. It looks like he's going to go around the outside fairly easily, but of course, Ollie Pakula here is going to pick up the DRS, might get a better exit out of that corner onto this straight as well as they enter the DRS zone. Flaps open up. Jem is ahead now, up into P10, but Ollie potentially could launch an attack here into the hairpin, but no, it looks like Jem's just about got him covered. He doesn't have the best line through that hairpin, though, so that's going to allow Ollie to close up that little bit more as they approach the final corner. Then he'll get another DRS activation here, and we could see some side-by-side action for essentially what is the lead of this race. DRS now open on the Ferrari, and Jem defends the inside line. Smart call from Jem, I think, but Ollie's going to try and hang it around the outside.
Oh, my goodness.
Turn 1, turn 2, they're going to be side by side heading into turn 3. A bit of a contact between the two of them. Jem leaves him room at the inside of that double left-hander as they come out side by side. It does look like Ollie, with the better exit, though, is potentially going to grab that position. I'm actually still on board with him. No, they're still side by side. And, he might get it around the outside at turn 6, and he does. Wow.
That's pretty much a repeat, yeah. Well deserved. That's exact repeat of the battle we described earlier between Fizzy and Mini Black. Same corners and the same kind of battling going on. Very well played by both drivers then as the Ferrari takes the lead of that particular battle at the moment. I'm going to jump back up to the front of the field, and it is currently Graham C33 in the Mercedes on those soft tyres. We'll see what happens there. Wycombe's currently running second in the McLaren. He's got a big old gap behind him to Cam in the Williams with those super soft tyres on. Ramdrop is in fourth in the medium shot. Now that's going to be interesting. He's on the medium tyres. If he's going to run that to the end, he's in 4th. Don't discount Ramdrop getting a decent haul of points, if not challenging for the podium positions.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, he could still be in there. Yeah, these medium runners, we don't really know what they're going to be like further in the race, as we see one of the Renaults, I think, pulling off into the pits in the background there as we're on board with Michael X99, who is actually now the lead Ferrari on that medium compound tires and making his way through turns 1 and 2 and into turn 3 now. But yeah, all of these guys that are near the front that are on these medium tires, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with them once these two stoppers in the top 3, the Grahams and the Ollies and the Gems of the world, once they start closing in, because inevitably they will. They've got fresher tires, they've got softer tires, so and you know, they did also out-qualify these guys, so one would presume they are going to catch up. But the question is, how many of these guys are they going to catch up? If they catch up to Michael X99 here and he happens to have a low downforce setup and they struggle to overtake him, then that could very seriously change the course of this race.
Absolutely. So Graham currently leads Wycombs by about 3 seconds. So a fairly comfortable lead there. And between Wycombs and Cam, there is about 8 seconds. So there's actually a really big spread in the podium positions at the moment. I'm going to watch what Graham is doing. And I think the best of those tyres have probably gone. Is he going to come in? No, he chooses to continue. And with only 8 racing... But there's only 8 racing laps left. He could try and string that out to the end.
I think so. I think we might see a shocking super soft one-stop strategy from Graham Carroll potentially, which would be very, very interesting because, of course, we saw him lose the lead of the race to Jem Bullet-Bossi in the opening lap as he took a pretty commanding lead. As Ollie Pakula, though, sets a 135.1. That's a very fast lap from the Ferrari driver. Yeah. And I imagine Graham Carroll is going to be keeping an eye on that because I do believe he will have gotten that information about that new fastest lap as he is driving. So certainly, that's going to play a little bit of a psychological game for Graham Carroll. He's going to be keeping an eye on his lap times, keeping an eye on that gap to the car behind him, making sure that he has enough tire life at the end of this race to maintain that lead.
Absolutely. So Oslo managed to claim that 7th position fairly comfortably from the Sauber. But interestingly, he is breaking away, but he is still 18 seconds away from lead with only 8 seconds remaining. That is a hell of a gap that Graham's got for himself, but he can't sit entirely comfortably. Wycombs, although he did lose a bit of time, I did see him manage to pull back a bit of time when they started this lap. So Wycombs is still in a position where he could challenge for that particular lead. 3.8 down at the moment, 8 laps to go. It is certainly a gap that they could actually recover, but we will see exactly how that transpires as the race goes on. Cam, like I say, is nearly 12 seconds down from lead, so about 8 seconds behind, and he's on super soft tyres, so either he's really conserving them or those tyres are absolutely mullet. Does he continue? He does. I mean, he may as well do, I suppose. He may as well just struggle on and see what he can achieve. As who's there behind him? That's Ramdrop that's already behind him. He's not really pressuring him too hard at the moment. Wycomb's gained 0.3 of a second at the last split. So there's a little bit of kind of gain loss going on between the top two. Could be Wycombs is just settling into his rhythm, just seeing what happens, playing out his own strategy. He must be aware of the gap behind him.
You might want to switch over to Ollie Pakula in P7. I do believe he is going to launch an overtake on this Red Bull in a moment here.
That's Rico Gordon already ahead of him, outside at turn 6. Oh, well defended by the Red Bull. And where is Jem? Jem is still stuck behind that Sauber. So Jem is losing out badly then after the pit stops. He's in 9th position and losing time badly behind that medium shop Sauber. Where is Ollie then? Now this is a prime opportunity then. We've seen him do an overtake into that turn 11 and no, he chooses not to. Raiko's gone deep though. That's going to compromise him into 11 and into 12. Is Oslo going to try an outside manoeuvre? No, he settles back into the slipstream to try a more conventional move into that turn 14. Raiko defended that really, really early, but just the extra momentum from the Ferrari is meaning that they are having to he's going to have to try an outside manoeuvre. It's going to go for it. my goodness me. Well respected, and he's done it as well. That is 6th position. Oslo is on a charge now. But Jem is losing a lot of time. He's now got 2 people he's got to try and get past to try and challenge that Ferrari once again. He's going to be losing a lot of time at the moment. So that is not playing into Jem's hands after such a great start. It does seem to be slipping away from him.
Yep, he's going to try it around the outside of turns 3 and 4 here on the Sauber on Max AFC. It looks like he's, just about squirming. They're going to be side by side as they exit the corner on the run down towards turn 6. It does look like the Sauber narrowly pulls ahead. Can Jem get laid enough on the brakes? They give each other enough room. Jem with the inside line squirming at the back end as that power all kicks in with those big fat rear tires, and it's still too much for those, but he does move up into P8. Now the Red Bull of Raikko Gordon is his next target, as Ali Pakala has closed up on his teammate, actually, so he's now closed up to 5th position, and we're rapidly approaching the end of lap 23, just a handful of laps remaining.
As much as they are realist, they're not really teammates in this kind of environment. They just wear the same colours. I don't think... I highly doubt Michael's going to be jumping out of Oslo's way, but they are indeed challenging along that back straight. And it does look like Oslo, again, has got the pace to do. He's got the softer tyres. Interestingly, Michael chooses not to defend that inside line, heading down to that turn 14. And it looks like it's going to be a fairly textbook overtaking manoeuvre, and that is indeed a change. Again, Michael could have recognised the fact that Oslo was that much faster and has allowed him to go through. Fairly strategic on his part. So that is 5th position then to the lead Ferrari. Already was, but you know what I mean. It's just changed which Ferrari's in the lead.
Yep, and now Ramdrop is next on the list of drivers that are going to have to defend from these 2 stoppers. Graham Carroll, meanwhile, still leading this race. What is the gap at the moment? I guess I need to go on board with Wycombe.
It is 2.6. So it has come down.
A big old gap. Yeah, and then a big old gap, though, down to Cam, who is 12 seconds off the leader. So it's about another 10 seconds down to Cam. And yeah, with less than a handful of laps remaining now, I am beginning to wonder if anybody can challenge Graham other than I think at this point, I know I might be calling it a little early. I might be shooting myself in the foot here.
Commentator's curse!
Yep, definitely commentator's curse potential there. But yeah, I think it really might come down to Graham Carroll and Wycombs, otherwise known as Chris, to people that know him in AOR. So those 2 guys are definitely ones to watch. But as I mentioned before, Ram is now the one, as we're actually getting an onboard shot looking backwards as he comes onto the very long straight towards the end of lap 24 now. And there is a big old gap down to Ali Pakala. He's going to be gaining at a pretty significant rate, but I mean, that is a handful of seconds, one would assume, just based on what my eyeball is telling me anyway. So maybe he'll make the overtake on the next lap on that very long straight. Sorry
to cut you off, Justin. Jem had to make a dive on the inside of 14, had a bit of impact with Raikko Gordon. I don't think Jem was expecting Raikko to brake where he did, and he had to dive on the inside, locked his brakes. It was a bit of wheel to side pod contact there. Neither of them seem to have had any particular damage. Jem now up to 7th.
Yeah, I'm on board with Jem on his front wing, actually, and not seeing any damage, so I can confirm I don't think he has any front wing damage.
It is going to take a mistake then from the front 2 to be challenged by anyone other than themselves. So as Graham then comes around 11 to no, beg your pardon, he's coming through 7, 8, and 9 onto the short straight 10 to 11. His lead over Wycomb's now 2.1 seconds. So that lead is coming down. It's not coming down quick enough at that rate for Wycomb's to be able to challenge. He has a big lockup again into 10, 11. The best of those tyres are gone for both drivers. It is how well they can limp around the circuit. The setup's obviously playing a difference as well, as the gap keeps toing and froing, but generally it is going down. But that McLaren is in a prime position to capitalise. If Graham just one simple mistake, he'll know that Wycombs is closing in on him, but he should also know that he's not closing in on him quick enough at that rate to make a mistake, to force a mistake. So we will see what happens, though. Stranger things have happened.
Yep, for sure. 3 laps remaining in this race, just 2.5 seconds separating the top 2. Less than that 1.8 seconds. Now the gap between the Mercedes of Graham Carroll and the McLaren of Wycombs as they start lap number 26 now. This is getting very tasty.
That was half a second Wycombs just gained in that one sector alone. It's possible, but it is going to be very down to the wire for Wycombs to challenge for that. He's going to rely more on Graham making a mistake, but it is doable. Again, he's just gained another 2/10. So that is going to be a real nail-biter finish for these two.
Yep, for sure. Ollie Pakula as well, unsurprisingly, has started to close up onto the back of Ramdrop on those very worn medium compound tires as they make their way out of turn 6 and towards my personal favorite part of the circuit, turn 7 and 8. This is what it's all about. 160 miles an hour apex speed through the left-hander of turn 7, down to just under 100 miles an hour through the right-hander, into the double left-hander, closing up significantly on that Force India, and it's going to be very close. He's definitely going to be picking up the DRS. He's getting a bit of a slipstream on this short straight on the rundown towards turn 12, I believe this is 11, I think it is, as they cross the DRS detection line. The Ferrari definitely within 1 second of the Force India. I don't think that much is in doubt, and he is going to be picking up an almighty slipstream off of the Force India here. DRS activation now for the Ferrari. Let's go on board with him as he's closing on Ram. He's going to grab the inside line. Not a very strong defense from Ram. He's going to try and go around the outside. Ollie with the inside line does move up into P4, just one position away now from a podium for Ollie Pakula, but crucially, only 2 laps remaining, and the Finn now 14 seconds behind Graham Carroll. I think it would take an incredible set of laps in order to close up that sort of gap.
1.2 separates Wycombs and Graham. No, less than a second. There's the crucial bit. If the DRS is working for that McLaren, he is now within DRS range. Graham will know this. He's got 2 laps to do it, and it is possible. That gap, the way that gap has been decreasing, that has been getting smaller and smaller at a greater rate lap to lap. Wycombs could possibly do it. We could well see a McLaren for the first time in a very long time on that top spot of the podium.
You said it, not me, but I did laugh at it. So I will accept blame for that one as they make their way into Sector 3 through the DRS detection line. I think it is just about enough for the McLaren. Again, we haven't necessarily been accurately seeing the DRS activation happening for these drivers, so I'm not entirely sure. He's definitely closing up on this straight, though, whether he's using DRSs or not. Regardless, closes up massively on the Mercedes, and they are going to be nose to tail coming out of this hairpin.
Exactly as we said, this is going to be all in the final lap. Wycombs has certainly got the pace. He looks like he's got the tyre life, but can he get the move done in the next...
the DRS.
It's about 2.5 miles or thereabouts as they come into that long turn 1. Can Graham hang on to the apex to keep the McLaren at bay? Yes, he does. As they then slow it down now into the left-hander. Gone through 2. Now through 3 and 4. This is going to be an opportunity through 4, 5 and 6. The McLaren is nailed to the back of that Mercedes. Graham is defending the inside line so close. And he parked it perfectly on the apex then to prevent the switchback from the McLaren. Now through 7, nothing Wycombs are going to particularly be able to do from here. Although Graham's gone wide! Oh my goodness me, are we going to see an overtake through 8? Graham was too wide. No, he just manages to defend that position. Apologies to the rest of the field. You're going to have to handle your race on your own. We're concentrating on these two. As now another opportunity in the heavy braking zone at 11. Is he going to throw it on the inside? No, he locked up again. He's been locking up there quite a few times as Wycombs. Now through 12 into 13. Now can he get the drive he needs? Graham kicks the tail out. That's not going to help him. That's going to give the momentum to the McLaren. Graham is gone to the inside. They're going to be side by side at the braking zone of 13. DRS on that McLaren is open. The lead has gone to Wycombs, but can he hang on to it? That is going to be... Oh, he's gone. He's locked up. He's hung on to it. The McLaren could well take this win with only 3 corners remaining. Can he do it? Is he going to too wide? No! Wycombs has taken the win from right underneath the Mercedes of Graham. Great battle, but what a win for Oh, Wycomb's then as Cam in the Williams takes third. Oslo fourth. Great drive from him in the Ferrari. Goodness me, as I now talk in a way that everybody can hear me and not just every dog in the nearby neighbourhood. Michael then takes sixth position. Kalon, as we're just... Oh, there's a problem at the back. One of the Force Indias is just... has Fizzy. Fizzy's decided to take a braking board with him. I think he's got a puncture. He looked like he was just wiggling around everywhere, like he had a puncture. No, he may well actually be able to continue quite happily. And says, I think Johnny John is the last one to come over the line. Yes, he is. Your final positions then. Oh my goodness me, what a finish. Stunning.
What a show. What a show. They really put on a show for us. That was truly incredible. I don't know if there were any sort of penalties or anything like that is concerned as far as going off the track extending, corner cutting, that sort of stuff. So we'll have to see the final results. But no, there is Wycomb's on the top step in the McLaren. Oh, man, I can only imagine how excited. I mean, I imagine his real self is even more excited than his virtual self.
Absolutely.
He's probably got his own bottle of champagne that he's busted open. Eric Boulier seems shocked beyond belief, as you can imagine. But Cam as well in the Williams, grabbing third position. I think that's one of the big stories of this race, because really he's not one that we were keeping our eye on. I noticed early in the race he was kind of very alone. He had a big gap ahead, he had a big gap behind. You could tell that Ali Pakula is seriously closing in on him, less than 2 seconds at the end of that race between those two. So he narrowly holds on to that podium, but an incredible drive from the Williams driver. And also, I really got to say, I think that was incredible for the entire field. After 28 laps of racing, to be separated by just 44 seconds, that's less than a second and a half per lap that they were separated from first to 18th.
The entire field.
You're not going to see anything like that in real racing series. Never mind F1, but in any racing series. That is incredible stuff.
Unfortunately, we can't grab our drivers for an interview that we would desperately love to do because they're not actually in Discord with us. So, unfortunately, I can't grab them. The first person I was looking for was obviously Wycomb's. He started sixth, did a one-stop, and brought it home. Actually, it's telling me that Graham didn't stop at all. He would be disqualified if that was actually true. So
that's obviously not true. We did see him stop, so we don't need to worry about that one. But oh my gosh, incredible stuff from that race. Also, really, truly.
Ramdrop started 11th and came home in 5th, I think it was. So
5th or 6th? Yeah, I mean,
decent
drive right there.
Bit of a shame then for Jem. It didn't work out for him. Strategy backfiring a little bit. Great drive by Oslo as well to go up to 4th by the end of that. He started 4th and finished 4th, which on the surface doesn't seem obviously any real progress. But wow, you saw for yourself the overtakes he had to do. But yeah, I'm going to put this out to the chat as well. I suspect I know what the answer is going to be. Driver of the day, Mr. Fake Ghost Pirate. Who are you nominating for Driver of the Day?
I got to give it to Wycomb's. I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest. He was not my pick for winning this race. I knew he was up there. He is one of the quicker guys based on the time trial times that we saw prior to this whole event beginning. So I knew he was certainly a podium threat. But seeing the sorts of times that we were seeing from Enzo Benito, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it for today's race, and from Graham Carroll as well, certainly I didn't really figure that he was going to be a contender for the race win. And with Enzo being gone, I really thought we were going to see Graham take off into the distance, which we did see in all fairness. But Wycomb's in the final stages of that race, really getting into that rhythm, which you touched on at one point, Chris, just getting into that rhythm, settling in, fantastic tire management as well, which we saw from him. And of course, this is only the first of 3 races. So, it's going to be difficult for him to continue to put in those types of results, especially if we do see the return of Enzo Benito, who we know is going to be incredibly quick as well. So this is a great start to this 3-race championship for Wycomb's. He's definitely my driver of the day, but we'll of course have to see if he's able to keep up that momentum.
The chat is just completely full. Unanimous vote for Wycomb's there, and it would be mine as well. It was absolutely amazing how he just kept his head. He himself was not confident coming into this race. He could just have been modest, but he was saying he was not.
Wycomb's. I'm going to grab him.
Haha, yes, please do. Yeah, lots of people are actually appearing in Discord now. So, yes, we have got to have a word with our race winner.
How do I drag this down?
So
there we go.
I got him.
I just moved you into the channel. You're live on stream now, of course. I was just saying you are my driver of the day. That goes without question. But at the same time, I was saying that I didn't pick you to win. Incredible drive towards the tail end of that race. Were your tires just in better condition than Graham's?
Definitely. I think he pitted only 1 lap earlier or 2 laps earlier. I don't know, but yeah, I don't even know how I got into P2 initially, to be honest, because qualifying didn't go well, nerves, etc., and battling with Cam, I think it was, towards the end of the first stint didn't help either. So I was so far down on these guys at the top. I was like, yeah, sure, maybe P4, P5, something. And then I just noticed that everyone was on a 2-stop. And I thought actually Graham would go on the 2-stop as well because he pitted earlier. And I'm not sure how his tires didn't pop because my tires were absolutely on the edge as well towards the end. But yeah, I was just keeping on pushing and yeah, incredible really to do it on the last lap.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. It does look like we have Graham and Ollie as well, so we might try and grab those guys in there. How are you feeling for the next race, Chris? Do you think you can keep up this momentum potentially?
I like Bahrain. I like Bahrain, but I think today really I had the advantage of being just experienced on F1 games. I think that I can take that for a fact with the strategy, etc., because I knew what I was doing, and I think the sim racing guys, especially, maybe got put off by that a little bit because they're initially obviously faster, but maybe I can try something again next week. We will see. I will try my best. Really, I didn't expect anything like this today, really. So I'm very, very happy, and yeah.
Well, huge congratulations. We're going to go ahead and get Graham in here and talk to him, the guy that you just narrowly beat on the final lap there. But thank you so much for coming in here. Huge congratulations on the victory, of course, and we will look forward to seeing you in Bahrain. Let me grab Graham in here. Graham, are you there? Are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Yeah, we just talked to Ycoms, who, as we all know, just narrowly edging you out at the end there. He told us firsthand that he really thought it came down to tire life in the end. He said he thinks that you pitted just 1 lap earlier than he did, and he thinks that's really what made all the difference. But fantastic race from both of you. We certainly didn't expect you to be doing the 1-stop when we saw you go into those soft tires, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about how that race went for you.
Yeah, congrats to him. To be fair, it was a good last lap battle, but that was it. It's a sort of first go at this sort of game, and not done a lot of preparation for it. So when I seen Jem pit, that kind of really puzzled my brain. I'm thinking, what's he doing? Should I pit now? Because my strategy was to go to lap 10. So basically, Jem made me pit a bit earlier just to think of the undercut, and me and Ollie sort of were talking in between sort of what to do, what was right, but. Yeah, we just thought we'd go for it, put in, so I think it was 7, 8, 9 or something. And I just obviously never played out too good in the end, but really enjoyable. Glad it stayed dry as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know you're somewhat new to these types of games. I know you personally from the UK and I Skip Barber League and iRacing. I covered you while you were racing quite a bit of that when I was writing for them, and I know you're more of like an iRacing type of guy. But it was really impressive to see the way that you just came in here and you were right up to speed with those other guys. How are you feeling about Bahrain? You think you're going to be another solid challenger in Bahrain?
Yeah, to be honest, the whole calendar on this game, China's probably my least favourite, so Bahrain's one of my favourites. So now we sort of know the wee sort of tricks of the trade and not dying at the end. We'll hopefully get a win the next time. But I'm just looking to get in the top 3. If you pass me in the last lap, I wasn't going to do anything silly or anything, just to get the points. And I think Ollie paid on the wrong tyres, went back to the super softs in the pits, and that kind of screwed him up. So it's so easily to do something like that, so I was just wanting to get some points in the first night and suss it out and come back a bit stronger the next round. So yeah, it was awesome.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate the race that you put on for us, the show that you guys gave us. It was obviously incredible. The chat was absolutely loving it. Really great battle between you guys. Nice and clean. We saw very respectful driving up and down the field today, which is what, of course, everybody likes to see. I'm going to try and grab Ollie if I can here as well. Cam, unfortunately, not in the Discord, so we can't get any word from Cam, who did, again, get that very impressive podium finish in 3rd position. But Ollie, you were just behind him. If you're there, yeah, that was very close for 3rd position, obviously.
Yeah, can you see me stroking the stashes? It was quite fun.
Yeah, it was. We were keeping an eye on you guys. You know, we watched you and Jem obviously on the 2-stop strategy, and we were really wondering how far up the field you guys were going to make it. We weren't sure if you were going to be, you know, challenging those top guys. Certainly for Jem, it seemed like he got held up a little by one of the Saubers, which maybe ruined his race a little bit. I'm sure he would have liked to get by that Sauber a little bit quicker. But are you happy with that P4? Are you hoping for something more next race?
Yeah, for sure. Hoping for much more. I mean, I was running the same strategy with Graham, and then for some reason on the pits I went back again to the super soft, and I couldn't even anymore change it. So I was like, okay, then we gotta do 2-stopper and push like hell, and yeah, in a way I'm really happy to catch a P4. There was quite tense moments and really close calls there. You could have ruined the race, but I think it went quite nice.
Yeah, it was fantastic racing, as I was telling Graham. It was really great to see you guys. And just like Graham, I know, you know, this isn't necessarily your racing platform of choice, but again, you know, right up to speed with the top guys. We saw you, the three of you, you, Graham, and Jem, really breaking away kind of in the early stages of that race and really showing your true pace. So, yeah, huge congratulations to you guys and good luck in the next race in Bahrain. Cam is saying that he is in Discord, so I would love to get a word with our final podium finisher if we can, but I'm not seeing him in any of the chat rooms.
No, nor I, so I'm not sure where Cam is.
Oh, he says he's not done voice chat on Discord, and he's asking for a sec, but that's okay. We can wait for him. But did you, Chris? Did you ever give us King-Kodiak? Did you ever give us your driver of the day?
It was Wycombs with hands down on that one.
Yep.
That last, and to be fair, congrats to obviously everybody that we've interviewed and all of our drivers for the effort put in. Bit of a shame for I think it was RBK that got skewed into the wall very early on. That was a bit of a shame. I think it was our only retirement as well in the race. But I mean, top notch, especially for obviously F1 2017, brand new game, have a bit of a different feel. Actually, I'm going to pose this one to Wycombs. You did touch on this a little bit, obviously. Going on your previous experience of strategies, how different from a driver's perspective does F1 2017 feel to F1 2016?
It's a really hard
as
one.
Much as that.
It's really hard one to say. I don't think too much really changed. I mean, obviously, you know, Cody's is making their own engine after all, so I think from year to year it's not really changing too much. Obviously, cars are a lot faster because of the more downforce, etc. But yeah, for me personally, it was pretty. I was up to the pace pretty quickly again, really. So the change of the game really didn't affect me personally too much. Really.
Here we go, and we do have Cam. He's finally figured out how to get in. There we go. So Cam joins us. Cam, I was saying, I don't know if you heard this part of the commentary, but I was saying a bit of a surprise, quiet podium for you. I noticed early in the race you had some pretty big gaps ahead, big gaps behind, but you managed to convert that into a visit to the rostrum. So I imagine you're pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky on the first lap because I got away from the cars behind, which battled, like stopped for a gap. Yeah, so I was just a bit lucky. I was in the middle of nowhere. Then on super softs, my tyres just died towards the end of it. But I decided literally a spontaneous one stop. But I didn't expect to see Wycombs on softs, so I was just like, oh yeah, his tyres are going to go off. No, it didn't happen. He just pulled away to 10 seconds. But you know, still good result. I'm well happy with that considering first race back online in a while. So pretty pleased as well. Good fun.
I'm not gonna lie, you weren't featured on the stream all that often, you know, because you weren't like locked in battle with the other drivers or anything like that. But regardless, obviously a solid result, converting that one stop into a podium finish. So huge congratulations to you. So I think we're just about gonna wrap that up. Any closing comments or anything from King-Kodiak?
What an amazing race it has been. Congratulations to our podium drivers and indeed to all of our drivers for taking part in this series. It has been an immense pleasure commentating for you guys. It's always a pleasure talking alongside you, Mr. Justin. And yes,
the pleasure is always mine. Yeah, you are one of my favorite people to talk with while racing is happening in front of me. And yeah, always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to next week.
You and me both, kind sir. You and me both. Right. So tomorrow it is PlayStation 4's turn to get their time to shine, as they will be running their Chinese Grand Prix. And next week it is the turn of Abu Dhabi. But for now, it is thank you from me, and for Mr. Justin, thank you kindly, sir.
Thank you.
And we will see you right here for more F1 2017 AOR action. Thank you very much, and good night.